All right, check it out, guys. We've been in here cleaning up this prox2. It's not spotless, but it is way better than it was. 3 of the motor mounts in the bulkhead were just hand tight. Took them right out. So I pulled them, set them up there just so I can get a better clean. But I'm gonna go ahead, slap the motor mounts back in, actually tighten them up, and we're gonna swap recoils and drop the motor back in. Just I gotta do a compression test. I got my gauge back from a buddy's house, and yeah, we're gonna see where this motor's at. If it's really low on compression on that PTO side, then we're gonna do a budget build on it, because I have just a pile of used 700 pistons that are good, and we're gonna try to save the cylinder if that's the case, which I have a feeling it will be the case. I do think it's gonna be low on compression, but I got some radic acid because I didn't see any scoring into the nick seal plating, but I think there is a little bit of piston material stuck to the bore wall, and that muriatic acid will help clean that off. And then give it a light hone, throw a used piston, used rings, go get some new gaskets, and see if this thing can be brought back to life. So that's the plan for today. All right, motor mounts are installed. We do that pretty much. You just thread in, and then use a punch on these little tabs and spin them. Punch and hammer. That's how you tighten those up. Yeah, you can see there's still some crap in there that I didn't clean, but it's good enough. And then swapped out the recoil for one with the good rope, rather than replacing the rope, because I took the lazy way out and just borrowed one from one of my spare motors. So yeah, that happened. I will go ahead. I got a bunch of recoils sitting around too, so I need to go through and buy like 100 feet of freaking rope and just redo them all. But for the moment being, this will work. Now it's time to drop this motor back in the sled. I'm sure I'll get some hate for this, but I cut the welds off of the cross brace between shock towers. Now the reason I did that is I forgot, it's been a while, okay, that with an oil pump and a white pipe on, you cannot put the motor in or pull it out without removing the white pipe. Now, I own a welder. I do not have gaskets for a white pipe currently. So, common sense, cut it off, weld it on, it'll all work out. I was able to remove it before because the oil pump was removed. However, it's easier for me to cut and knock this brace off than it is to dick around trying to get those tiny little bolts in with zero room with the bulkhead here. So yeah, it's just the way it is. It'll come out fine. I'll put that back on. I'll get it burned on. It'll look beautiful. You'll never even know what happened, except for the fact that I actually showed you guys. Anyways, now I should have all the room in the world to be able to put this motor in and do a compression test. All right, we got the motor in, bolted down. I'm just gonna go ahead and send it on the compression test. There's no need really to do the carbs or the exhaust or anything like that, because typically you would do your test at wide open throttle. Basically open the carbs up. So this is basically wide open throttle. Exhaust ain't gonna have any effect on this. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and throw it in and see what happens. Ideally, on these 700 Vestas, I'd like to see at least 130 PSI. Perfection, I would say 145. These do have a higher compression than the older non-Vest motors. Those old non-Vest motors should be 125. I like 145 on these. I'm happy with anything over 125 though. So we're gonna go ahead and thread this bad chicken in, see what happens. All right, mag cylinder. That's about 142 roughly. It's between 140 and 145, so I'm gonna call it 142. That's good. We're gonna go ahead and throw it in the PTO side and try that, see what it pulls up for compression. About 65 PSI. All right, So now that we know that, we can go ahead and see if we can ghetto fix the PTO side on this motor. Hopefully cylinder saveable. I got a ton of used pistons sitting around. I do not have any 700 best cylinders I can use. So yeah, pretty much we'll tear it down, see what we see, and hopefully this goes well. If not, I'll need a cylinder or to put a different motor in, one of the two. All right, we got the head pulled off again, and see that right there? I'm gonna guess this thing ran probably not temperature wise hot, but I think this side may have ran lean at some point. So yeah, definitely has some damage on the exhaust side. The head's off. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the exhaust manifold. Ironically, I have to pull it anyways even after cutting the brace off, but not a big deal. Got a welder. It'll all buff out, look pretty when I'm done. But yep, that cylinder's got to come off and see if we can save it. All right, so we went out. We got one brand new OEM base gasket, all 4 head gaskets, 1 best gasket, and 2 manifold gaskets. That was like $75. I made a mistake. Usually I get a discount at Polaris. Now I've learned something. Call ahead of time, I don't get my discount. So all these I paid list price, and this because I asked for it while I was there. They already had all that rung up for me, and since I asked for this while I was there, I got my 10% off on 1 gasket. Whatever though, I can't complain. For $150, I bought a good used, this is an Elko piston, which is the same brand as OEM, and it's cleaned, and a really nice 700 best 340 cast cylinder. So that's 150 plus 275 is, why did I say 275? So that was 150, that was 75. $225. That puts me at a total of $925 into the sled so far, and it still doesn't run me. So we're gonna go ahead, pull this exhaust manifold, pull that best valve, pull the cylinder, pull the piston, throw that other used junk on here, and yeah, should run better. I guess we'll see what happens. I don't know. I just pulled the exhaust valve. That gasket looks damn near brand new. It's becoming quite suspicious. Starting to wonder if this has an underlying issue. Maybe a bad crank seal? I don't know. But there's no way to find out until I rebuild the top end and test her out. Otherwise, I just have to tear the whole thing down and replace them. But yeah, maybe no, that I don't know. Anyways, it might be a bad crank seal or something, because it looks like somebody was just in this. I don't know if it was rebuilt or if they just cleaned the exhaust valves. I mean, that gasket literally looks brand new. I'm actually going to reuse it. The valve's a little dirty, not bad. So maybe they were just in there cleaning it up. I don't know. I can't believe this thing even ran. Those rings are completely stuck in the piston. The consistent scoring all the way across tells me lack of oil. I mean, it's just the entire skirt. This side a little bit too. Just totally stucker than shit. Totally lack of oil. So, prime the oil pump, a little bit of premix, throw a used piston in it, all new gaskets, used cylinder. Yeah, she should be good to go. Run premix for a couple tanks at minimum. I run premix in every tank though, so, and yeah, should be good to go. I guess I'll go ahead and get this other piston yanked out of here and tossed the other one in. Crank feels great though, thank the Lord. It's nice, it's tight, feels good. Hell yeah. All right, got the old piston out. Now I throw the new one in. All right, upon further inspection, I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but there is some crud sitting in the very bottom of the case there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull my drain plug, which is way down here. I can't see what the camera sees, but I assume you can see it right there. And go ahead and flush it with some fuel, and that should push anything bad out. So yeah, just want to make sure, like, there's not a ton, but I don't want any of that to come up and immediately get stuck between the piston and the cylinder I just bought. So yeah. So I pretty much just poured straight fuel in there. That's rinsing any nasty crap out. Let's hit this a little bit more. Luckily, this is all bad fuel. This is not good fuel I'm using. But this really isn't the recommended method. The right thing to do would be split the cases and clean it out. It looks like we're getting most of it out, or we did get most of it out. So that's awesome. Sweet. So I'm gonna go ahead and crack the door, turn the fan on, and let this thing vent out, let all that gas evaporate. Alright, here's one thing I cannot stress enough when you're using old, used parts like I am right now. So, normally you just slam your wrist pin back through, send her home, right? Well, I got to looking at this. Yeah, look at that. That's a super rough spot in the wrist pin. That's no bueno. So we're gonna go ahead and toss that, go find a different one. Alright, so we got the old one down there. I went ahead and scooped another one up from one of my old motors, and, well, not one of my old motors. I have a pile of pistons, but this one looks really nice for being a used wrist pin. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one. Slap a little oil on her and let the assembly begin. Alright, old used pistons in, got my little circlip in, and even though I've done this hundreds of times, I still put something in the cases. You do not want that circlip falling down there. It's extremely important to remember, it can be hard to see how to clean this off. The arrow, I don't even know if you guys can see it, the arrow points to the exhaust, always on these Polaris. So there that is. Time to throw a base gasket on, and then the cylinder's going on her. Alright, the cylinder's on, torque down, head is on, torque down. Now I'm going to throw the exhaust valve on, the exhaust manifold, and then finish buttoning up all the other little bullshit, and then we're going to give this thing a fire up, see how she runs. Alright guys, time's come. It's actually the next day. I got kind of busy last night doing some other stuff, but yeah, so got the air box chilling there, everything's plugged in, put a belt on it, and yes, this sheave is separated, the belt's not sitting right, but once you spin the track, it clamps back down. So I did not weld my brace in yet because I just want to see this thing run. So it should be good to go. It should be. So we'll see what happens. We're gonna go ahead and try to fire this thing up right now. Hopefully this goes as good as I think it will. See it pulling fuel through the line, so that's a good sign. She wanted to go. Whoo, that was exciting. So here's what I think happened. I think as that cylinder was going down, I think they adjusted the throttle to try to keep it idled up. Because this doesn't go all the way. That's full throttle. So I think they got it way out of adjustment down there. I never checked it. I never changed it. I just put it back to where they had it. So I'm gonna go ahead and adjust the cable and get this thing to idle. All right, I got the throttle turned way down. Let's try this again. Sounds pretty good. Sounds good. This button is for reverse. Hell yeah. Sick. Budget build, boys. Bunch of used parts, couple new gaskets, and she's up and running. Oh, I totally forgot to plug this back in. All right. Well, I guess now one of the big things left to do is I got to put my cross brace back in, weld her up, get the coolant system burped, and we'll take her out for a little test drive. You guys are gonna have to wait for that until the next video though. Have a good one.